On today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live, it's another chance to regroup for the Arizona State football team during the bye week, and Coach Dillingham may be looking to go in a different direction.
It's a Bobby Hurley homecoming as Sun Devil basketball jets off to Duke for a highly anticipated contest. Our crew of reporters will bring you the latest from Durham at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Sun Devil volleyball is one of just 2 teams in the nation entering the weekend with 20 wins on the season. We'll take a look at their rivalry match last night. All that, so much more is coming up on Cronkite Sports Live. Everybody, and welcome to another new edition of Cronkite Sports Live. Ben Paris alongside Gabby Chernoff on the desk for the very first time. And Gabby, rumor has it that you emailed Coach Dillingham after the loss at Cincinnati.
You know, Ben, I think he actually caught wind of the fact that I used to play soccer back in my day. He actually reached out to me, but I had to politely decline his offer.
Is that so, Gabby? We're going to talk about that more in just a little bit. Let's hop into the game highlights. ASU at Cincinnati trying to get win number 6 of the season and become bowl eligible for the first time since 2021. We'll pick it up with the first play of the game, and it's a Miles Rouser tackle for a loss, setting the tone for the game. He led the game with 7 solo tackles. After forcing a 3-and-out, ASU on their first offensive drive of the game would punch it into the end zone. Cameron Scadaboo, of course, his 9th touchdown of the season. 8 minutes to go in the first. It's Keith Abney picking off Brendan Sorsby, his 2nd interception of the season, and all things were looking great for ASU until this. The very next play after the interception, a Cameron Scadaboo fumble recovered by Cameron Wilson would set up Cincinnati on the ASU 14-yard line. 2 plays later, Sorsby would do it himself to tie the game at 7. 5.5 minutes to go in quarter number 1. It was 4th and 2 at midfield, but it would turn into a 7-yard loss for ASU. They would turn the ball over on downs, and 6 plays later, Cincinnati would convert for a field goal to score off that turnover and take a 10-7 lead into the second quarter. 4 minutes into the second, it was Evan Pryor breaking away for a 55-yard rushing touchdown to make the Cincinnati lead 17-7, the 4th touchdown of the season for him. And after ASU turned it over on downs again, inside 2 minutes to go before halftime, Sorsby would take it into the end zone again to make it 24-7, Cincinnati into the break. Looked like ASU had some life coming out of the break. It was Kananga coming out with a sack for ASU, and ASU would get the ball back, and Scadaboo delivering the hit that was seen everywhere, lowering the shoulder, making it 24-14. In quarter number 4, Cincinnati was held out of goal line stand by ASU. They'd march down the field, but Ian Hershey from 48 yards away wouldn't be able to convert on the field goal. And then a few moments later, he missed a 41-yarder as well. Missed back-to-back kicks inside of 50 yards. ASU dropped to 24-14. Kenny Dillingham talked about the special teams after the game.
I don't know. I think our guys had a lot of energy this morning. So, yeah, there's the stat that, teams lose 75% of the games traveling 3 time zones. But I think our guys were ready to play. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. Like, we got our butt kicked. It's going to happen. It's football. No, very few teams go undefeated.
So a call to all kickers, or at least anyone who thinks they can put the ball through the uprights. Coach Dillingham's post-game comments garnered some attention on social media over the weekend, while just about every ASU student took a second to convince themselves they have what it takes to be a Division I athlete. Dillingham partially walked his comments back during his weekly press conference on Monday, but a handful of kicking hopefuls who may have more experience than you and me were still invited for a tryout this week. We'll make sure to keep you updated on this story as it develops.
When you look around and you see this moment, what's it like for you?
It's kind of crazy. I was one of these guys. I was doing this.
Our kicking game's atrocious. So if you can kick and you're at Arizona State, email me.
The curious case of Kenny Dillingham. After the upset win against Utah, Dilly was known across the country as one of us, getting mobbed by students during an iconic post-game interview. A 5-1 start had Tempe ready to build the statue, but narratives shift quickly. just a week later, a frustrated Dillingham after a lackluster loss to the Cincinnati Bearcats expressed his concerns with the kicking unit, telling any kicking prodigy at Arizona State to
email me.
Media outlets took this and ran with it, painting Kenny Dillingham as a poor leader who didn't have control of his group. ASU football's ups and downs closely mirror the media portrayal of their head man, and despite the ups and downs, hopes are high in Tempe as the season rolls on, just one win away from bowl eligibility for the first time since 2021. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Aiden O'Neill.
Now the Sun Devils are heading out of their second bye week and a handful of kicker tryouts and into the final 5-game stretch of the season. They've widely exceeded expectations up to this point with a 5-2 record, but a couple of ranked opponents and a visit down to rival territory could pose as major threats to the Devils' hot streak. Our Parker Peril has the forecast ahead of Arizona State football's final 5 games.
8 weeks in, and the Sun Devils sit at 5-2, just one win away from bowl eligibility. But something tells me Coach Dillingham and the Sun Devils might have bigger aspirations. We will see what the forecast is like for ASU as we take a look at the Sun Devils' 5-game forecast. Arizona State's next game is a night game in Stillwater against Oklahoma State. And despite the Cowboys' 0-4 conference record, Mike Gundy's squad is projected to beat the Devils, with ASU having a 43.7% chance of winning, according to ESPN Analytics. It'd be a massive against the odds win for the Devils to get its first road conference win as a member of the Big 12. The next week, ASU returns home to take on the UCF Knights, and the forecast favors the Sun Devils, who have a 57% chance of knocking off the Knights at home. And the analytics say this is where the Devils would clinch bowl eligibility. And it couldn't come at a better time, with a tough 3-game stretch taking on 2 top 20 teams and then a road rivalry match to close out the season. This is arguably the toughest 3 games of the season for ASU, with the lowest win probability the Sun Devils will face all year in Manhattan against Kansas State, with an 18.1% chance of winning. Following this up, the next week ASU is back at home, but the 11th ranked BYU Cougars come to town. And even with the Devils' undefeated record at home, ASU is only given a 46.3% chance of taking down BYU. Then to wrap up the regular season, you don't need a forecast to tell you this is a big one. The Territorial Cup this year will be massive. And even with the factors that it's a rivalry game on the road, the Devils are projected to come out on top with a 57.8% chance of getting its first T-Cup win in Tucson since 2018. All in all, ASU has a 4.8% chance to run the table in this 3-game stretch, and also has a 26% chance to go undefeated at home for the first time since 2004. Odds tell us the Sun Devils would finish the season 7-5, and ASU has a 1.2% chance to go undefeated from this week to the end of the year. If so, it would likely book them a ticket to the Big 12 championship in Arlington. The Sun Devils have the 10th lowest percentage to win out the rest of the season. And these chances, they might seem small, but this team already has exceeded preseason expectations, so who's to say they can't surpass midseason expectations? Guys?
Thanks, Gabby. One of the most anticipated seasons in program history begins at the Cathedral of College Basketball. We're just off Tobacco Road for CSL On the Road from Cameron Indoor Stadium, an exhibition coming up on Sunday night between Arizona State and Duke. And hello from one of the great campuses in all of college athletics, Aiden Blank, Blake Neiman. So excited to be with you, Blake. Bobby Hurley's coming home this weekend, and there's a lot of buzz around this program about it.
Yeah, what an exciting full circle moment for Bobby Hurley, coaching in his first game against his alma mater, a place here. He only lost 3 games as a player. It's sure to be something special on Sunday.
Oh, we have a lot to get to. We'll talk about Bobby. We'll talk about the team. Let's take a look back at a little old school Bobby Hurley. Yeah, that's Bobby Hurley back in the 90s when he played here. Multiple national championships, multiple All-American honors, and of course, the thing that he's probably most remembered for here, the NCAA's all-time career assist leader. For a little more on a little vault on Bobby Hurley, here's Justin Lassertosa.
In
In 1988 and 1989, the Duke Blue Devils lost in the Final Four of the NCAA tournament 2 consecutive times under head coach Mike Krzyzewski. Desperate to break the glass ceiling, the program needed a lead guard to pair with center Christian Laettner in tow, and Coach K looked no further than the Jersey City kid out of St. Anthony's High School, Bobby Hurley, who averaged 20 points, 8 assists, and 3 steals in his senior season, and led his squad to a record of 115-5 through 4 seasons. Hurley was initially set on staying in the Garden State and going to Seton Hall, the very team that eliminated Duke a year prior. But Coach K just couldn't leave the kid alone. Inevitably, Hurley made the move to Durham, North Carolina, and it certainly filled that void at the 1. His freshman season came in 1990, where Duke finally got over the hump and reached the NCAA championship, ultimately falling to a Larry Johnson-led UNLV team. But just a year later, Duke would overcome that same Rebels team in the Final Four, proceeding to rout Kansas and win the Natty, where Hurley was the only player to play all 40 minutes, tallying 12 points and 9 assists. Fast forward to 92, Duke would find itself in the same exact situation, completing the two-peat with a win over Michigan. But unfortunately for the Blue Devils, luck just couldn't repeat itself in 93, as Duke would lose to a Jason Kidd-led Cal team in the round of 32. But in his final collegiate contest, Hurley scored 32 points to go along with 9 assists. Maybe not ideal to end his career off with an L, but certainly a strong way to sign off. Bottom line, Hurley was a magician with the rock in his hands. Your prototypical floor general that was inevitably the missing piece for a Krzyzewski-led team looking to get over the hump. And this Saturday, it all comes full circle as Hurley makes his way back to Cameron Indoor for the first time as a head coach and will be greeted by a new era of blue and white. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Justin Lastratosa.
A coach so legendary, he's known simply by one letter. Coach K has had such an immense impact on Bobby Hurley and his basketball career, helping him become arguably the greatest point guard in college basketball history. It is here where Hurley learned the characteristics of a championship team, which he has since tried to implement in his own program at Arizona State.
I learned a lot from Coach K, and I've tried to, I use him as a model in some ways, just how his relationships with the players, the pace of play, allowing his players to play freely. Like I was able to play my style of basketball. He didn't hold me back at all. So more like general concepts.
So the emotions certainly running high throughout the Hurley family as he returns to Duke for one of the few times since he played here. And Blake, the biggest reason he's coming back is because he has a basketball team that can compete with these guys. It's the highest recruiting class in the program's history, some major transfers. This is maybe the best team he's coached in 10 years here.
Yeah, year 10, a chance for him to really show what he's built, the foundation he's laid at Arizona State. He's got a star-studded recruiting class. He went out and got some great guys in the transfer portal, and we'll see how they stack up against a very talented Duke team.
Well, you mentioned how they're going to stack up. Let's take a look at how the Sun Devils look for 2024. This is your breakdown of the brand new roster.
Say hello to the bad guys. You may never see a bad guy like us again.
Bobby basketball is back and bigger than ever. The Sun Devils enter their 10th season under Hurley and first in the beastly Big 12.
We're excited about our first season in the Big 12. It's obviously, in my opinion, the best basketball league in the country.
With a giant jump in competition in a new conference, ASU largened up the talent and size on its roster over the offseason. The headliner of the Sun Devils' offseason acquisitions is five-star center Jaden Quaintance, who has already shown early signs of lottery pick potential.
Jaden is special, and what he's going to be a couple years from now is scary because you look at him physically, he's prepared, to compete at this level, and his makeup is outstanding. His habits are tremendous for a young person.
Joining Quaintance is fellow five-star freshman Jason Sanan, who flipped his commitment from in-state blue blood Arizona to Arizona State. But it's not just the young bucks who will be balling in maroon and gold. Hurley picked up several veterans in the portal, including players with previous ties to Tempe, like Austin Nunez, who returns to the place his college career began after spending last season at Ole Miss. Plus, Alston Mason, the son of former Sun Devil guard Alton Mason, makes his return to where his basketball journey started to carry on the family legacy at ASU.
I went to camp here as a kid, so I'm kind of familiar with the area, and I lived here growing up, and being able to put this uniform on, it means a lot to me, a lot to my family, so I just want to represent them the best way possible.
And last but not least, the core that stuck around. Adam Miller and Sean Phillips Jr. are ASU's only returning starters and are ready to raise the roof of Sun Devil hoops.
We're getting somewhere. We're getting far, man. We got a lot of talent on this team, I'll tell you that. But, you know, talent only takes you so far.
We'll see how far that talent takes them starting Sunday in the exhibition battle between the Sun Devils and the Blue Devils.
So that's how it looks. And if you're an Arizona State fan, I think you're pretty much ready to get this going, right? You had the whole offseason to look at this program taking a complete 180 from NIL to these new recruits to a great transfer class. You've been waiting on this for months, and you've been having the build-up. Now you're ready to get things going, and I think everyone's very excited to see what comes of this ball game on Sunday night.
Look, Bobby Hurley made some major moves this offseason. He's tired of being mediocre. He's ready to make deep runs in the NCAA tournament like he did as a player here at Duke, and he's constructed a roster to be able to do it.
And the other thing about this, we've talked about this a little bit off the air, it's not just playing a top 10 team, it's visiting this facility. You have guys that could play here. There's multiple players on Arizona State's team that could make the starting five here. You're looking to them right now to take a trip here and realize we want to build this in Tempe, right? You want to become the Duke of the West. You want to become a top 10 program, and the best way to do that is to show them your vision. And we're going to see Bobby Hurley try to lay it out starting on Sunday.
The 2024 Sun Devil basketball season gets underway on Sunday as the Sun Devils meet the Blue Devils in an exhibition game as Bobby Hurley returns to the house he helped build. That's all for us from Durham. Let's send it back out west to Studio 6.
Let's take a trip down to Tucson for some volleyball highlights. ASU visited the rivals from down south for a Territorial Cup matchup. Top of the first set here, Jelly Sear hits an ace early to give the Sun Devils a 2-1 lead. Had two of those the entirety of the match. Later on in the set, Jelly Sear with a dig. Ung sets it up to Savannah Colheed. U of A tries to keep it going, but they're unable to do so. A 6-point lead now for the Sun Devils. Now it's Shania Cromartie with the dig. Ung sets it up again, and Bailey Miller with the kill as ASU gets the 22nd point. They would win that match, or that set, 25-23. Third set tied at 15. Dig from Schroll and the kill by Sear. They lost set 2. Sear had 14 kills in the entirety of this one. In the fourth set now, the block by Roberta Rebello and Claire Jeter, they say no. Wildcats will look to set it up again, but the Devils say no again. Bailey Miller and Claire Jeter, 6-2 Devils at this point. Jeter had 5 block assists in this match. Fourth set, Cromartie dig, Ung set, and a Jeter kill. Jeter had 8 total kills that night. Later on, off the serve, a dig by Schroll. Who else but Ung and Jeter with another kill. The Devils would emerge victorious from this match, 3-1, and they won that fourth set by a final score of 25-15. The 13th-ranked Sun Devils claim the Territorial Cup down in Tucson.
Big night here in Tucson as ASU took down U of A in 4 sets. As part of a balanced attack, Jelly Sear led the team with 14 kills, her 6th straight double-double. The win was the 20th of the season for the Sun Devils, their 8th straight, and their 4th straight against U of A. JJ Van Niel has not lost to U of A in his time at ASU. The Sun Devils head up north next week to take on BYU on Thursday.
JJ Van Niel is in his 2nd season as head coach of Sun Devil volleyball. And in that short period of time, he has completely changed the program for the better. This week, our Crawford McKinstry sat down with Coach Van Niel to discuss his unique analytical approach and why it's worked so well.
A few years back, Arizona State volleyball was in a much different place than it is today. The Sun Devils struggled to build continuity and repeatedly found themselves watching the postseason from home. But after the 2022 season, ASU volleyball flipped the script and completely restored the program. At the helm of this transformation has been the great mind of head coach JJ Van Niel. For those who don't know him well, they'll come to figure out pretty quickly that the Sun Devil head coach is infatuated with film and analytics.
Yeah, I mean, he's a numbers guy. He's gonna tell you straight up what it is.
And we do a lot of film, and sometimes in the moment, it's like, okay, we're doing film again. Like,
he's the best coach I've ever had, honestly. I think that he really just loves numbers, knows numbers, and I think that that's just what helps us be so successful. So
Van Niel took every avenue to become a better coach, whether that be working with Team USA women's volleyball or listening to podcasts from other sports to get more ideas for volleyball coaching schemes.
And not just for volleyball, for like basketball and really any sport, baseball, like stuff like that. But a lot of times when I'm listening, it might not even be the exact same thing they're talking about, but it'll spark something and you go, oh man, I wonder if like this would work. So I think there's
it hasn't been because we've been outplayed. It's been because we beat ourselves with costly mistakes. So we have to be a team that can't beat itself, you know. And right now, we've done a lot of really good things, and just critical mistakes are the ones seeming to end up in the back of our net.
ASU hockey off to a vastly different start than that of what happened in 2023-24. That year they started 4-1-1. Now they're 1-4-1. As you see on the screen, pretty stark difference, and the numbers don't lie. But head coach Greg Powers believes that they have to be process-oriented and still believes that they're playing really well despite the numbers. They're in a battle with Northern Michigan right now as the second period winds down. It's 1-1, deadlocked at that score. And Shimmick is the lone goal scorer for ASU. Let's hit the ice now and chat about Sun Devil hockey's rocky start. Safe to say the puck luck hasn't been on ASU's side, considering they haven't won since the opening game. Most recently, they were swept up in Providence this past weekend. And to tell us more, we welcome in WCSN hockey reporter Colgan Herschel. Colgan, a tough weekend up north. Why wasn't ASU able to escape with a win?
Yeah, Gabby. Coming into its season, Sun Devil hockey had high expectations in the NCHC, but haven't performed as expected. Falling to 1-4-1 over its first 6 games, the power play hasn't been performing up to par. Last season, the Sun Devils had the 6th-ranked power play in the nation with 26.5%, but this season, it's fallen to 23.5%, ranking outside the top 10. Head coach Greg Powers said that he'll look to even out his 2 power play units to spread out scoring opportunities in hopes of increasing power play potency. Providence consistently found looks short-handed with multiple odd-man rushes and breakaway attempts. Powers also noted that turnovers have been another issue so far. On the Friars series opening goal, ASU couldn't clear the puck from its own zone, giving the Providence's talented forward Tanner Adams a freebie last Friday. Gabby, the subpar power plays and dangerous turnovers largely contribute to ASU's 0-2 weekend out east.
So it sounds like there are definitely some areas where they need to improve, but despite the rocky start and subpar power play, what are some positives that can be taken from this very young season?
Yeah, well, goals are scarce, Gabby. The transfers have been leading the way for ASU. Coming over from Clarkson, Noah Beck is tied for the nation's point leader and leads all defensemen with 9. Arizona State just played Providence, and one-time Friar Bennett Shimmick's 4 goals leads the Sun Devils through October 24th, and is 1 spot behind Beck with 8 points. Penn State transfer Ryan Kerwin is 3rd on the team in points with 4. Those 3 have set a high bar for the rest of the group. Powers is confident that his team can turn things around, stressing process over results and hoping their luck will turn. This weekend, ASU's forward group will welcome the additions of forwards Charlie Shane and Artem Schlane, bringing in goals that they have been missing. Gabby?
Colgan, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. The Sun Devils head up to Northern Michigan this weekend for their upcoming series, and we'll see if Greg Powers and his squad can pull it together and tack on some more wins in that column.
Despite coming up winless in their last 4 games, the Sun Devil goalie tandem of Gibson Homer and Luke Pavicic have been reliable in net. Homer, who spent much of the first half of last season as the backup man, has taken the reins as the starting goaltender for ASU, while Pavicic, the UMass Lowell transfer, is in the position Homer was familiar with this time last year. Zach Nicolaitis spotlights the netminders, who will try to take home a W for the first time in 3 weeks during the series at Northern Michigan.
In his 3rd season as a Sun Devil, Gibson Homer has taken the reins as ASU's #1 guy between the pipes. Homer didn't play in his first season in the Maroon and Gold, but got a few nods in the 2023-24 campaign. There, he gained vital mentorship under the wing of former Sun Devil TJ Septemfelter, who Homer gives partial credit to for his rapid development. It's been a strong outing for Gibson Homer as ASU's go-to guy with a 2.54 goals against average and a .912 save percentage. While his 1-2-1 record doesn't speak for his strong play, the newly named starter has definitely kept Arizona State in games with the new amount of pressure on his back. To back him up, UMass Lowell transfer Luke Pavicic has stood tall in his 2 starts so far. In Saturday's loss to Providence, Pavicic was close to unbeatable, boasting a 2.00 goals against average and a .944 save percentage. Head coach Greg Powers believed he wasn't going to let one get by and thought his dynamite play, as he put it, deserved wins in both starts. Despite the high praise, he stands winless through 2 contests. Even though it was a winless weekend, both goaltenders continue to be a bright spot. Having 2 reliable netminders will be vital for the Sun Devils in their inaugural NCHC season.
ASU women's basketball finished their final Pac-12 season with a 3-15 conference record and a first-round exit in the Pac-12 tournament. They'll want to leave all that in the past as their inaugural Big 12 season is on the horizon, and there's lots to know before tip-off on November 4th. WCSN women's basketball reporter Luke Ledner is in studio now to tell us about the returning members of this women's hoops squad.
As Arizona State departs the Pac-12 for the Big 12, it welcomes back some familiar faces to lead the charge in its new conference. Sophomore Jalen Brown, last year's leading scorer, is joined in the backcourt by 5th-year senior Ty Skinner, who missed all of 2023-24 with a knee injury after leading ASU with 19.3 points per game the year prior. Both are volume scorers, hoisting 16 and 17.3 shots per game respectively in their last full seasons. Their shot breakdown will be key to the Sun Devils' offensive dynamic in 2024-25. In the front court, junior Khadijah Toye returns as a strong rebounding presence, especially in the offensive glass, where she was 2nd on the team last season with 1.5 offensive boards per game. With a total of 8 players returning to the squad, Coach Natasha Adair will hope to find the balance between fresh and familiar faces in 2024-25. For more on the incoming transfers, here's Shane Maloney.
Thanks, Luke. As Arizona State women's basketball gets set to become a newcomer in the Big 12, head coach Natasha Adair has assembled a team full of newcomers. 8 first-year Sun Devils dot this year's roster, 7 of which are transfer portal additions. Let's start by highlighting Oregon transfer Kennedy Basham, a Phoenix native who returns home after 2 years in Eugene. Basham led the Ducks in blocks last year and will be a huge addition for an ASU team that ranked dead last in the Pac-12 in blocks per game a year ago. Jaya Lovett and Kennedy Fauntleroy are 2 more transfers to keep your eye on this year. Lovett comes to Tempe via San Jose State, where she earned Mountain West all-freshman team honors, averaging 14 points a game. Kennedy Fauntleroy comes after a short stint at Oklahoma State, in which she left the program mid-season due to personal reasons. Fauntleroy comes with some hardware of her own, though, as she won Big East Freshman of the Year 2 years ago at Georgetown. With just 1 freshman on the roster this year, the experience these transfers will bring will be key for Natasha Adair in her 3rd season and the program's first in the Big 12. With more on what the new conference will bring, here's Leilani Firetag.
Thanks, Shay. ASU is set for an interesting season as they make their debut in the Big 12 Conference. Their schedule has some competitive matchups as they go up against some of the top programs in the league. These programs include Baylor, Iowa State, and West Virginia, all of whom competed in the 2024 NCAA tournament. ASU will also face home rivals Arizona and Utah, both NCAA contenders. And even though Oregon State is no longer in the same conference as ASU, both teams have agreed to home-and-home series. The Sun Devils will also be tested on the road with tough games at Kansas, Kansas State, and Colorado. These teams were also in the NCAA tournament last year. The Sun Devils won 3 out of their 15 games last season, and this is their chance to prove themselves in their opening Big 12 run. Back to you guys.
Arizona State soccer has had a record of just 1 win and 4 losses during the month of October, and welcome in Arizona to Tempe tonight for a Territorial Cup matchup to end the regular season. Jacob Brooks is at Sun Devil Soccer at Sun Devil Soccer Stadium, that is, and ASU's been skidding down the home stretch of the season. What's the confidence level for the Sun Devils heading into tonight, and who's going to have to potentially step up to grab a rivalry win and gain some momentum before the postseason?
That's right, Ben. ASU has only won 1 of its last 5, so this squad's coming in as clear underdogs against an Arizona team that's gone 5-4-1 throughout Big 12 play. In terms of key contributors, simply put, the Sun Devils are going to need another masterclass out of Pauline Nellis in the net. She had a shutout with 2 saves in ASU's crucial win over Kansas State last Thursday, and the Maroon and Gold will need a similar performance from her tonight. The defense will need to keep Nellis in easy spots, but as long as one of the best goalies in the country plays like one of the best goalies in the country, the Sun Devils will always have a shot. On offense, look out for transfer junior forward Cameron Valadares. She scored a goal in 2 of ASU's 3 conference wins so far this season, so it's safe to say her getting the ball in the back of the net really opens up the game for ASU's attackers. She's in a unique revenge opportunity tonight against U of A as she transferred to ASU from University of Arizona this past offseason, so look for her to play with that little extra edge tonight for the Devils.
Let's talk postseason now. Win or loss, what's the outlook for the Sun Devils, and what effect could the outcome of this game have on ASU's spot in the Big 12 tournament as they'll take it on for the first time?
Well, Ben, in terms of this inaugural Big 12 tournament for the Sun Devils, the top 12 teams in the conference get a bid, and with a 3-6-1 conference record thus far, the Sun Devils have already clinched a spot in the tournament regardless of tonight's outcome. An ASU win or a Baylor loss at Iowa State tonight would lock ASU in as the 10 seed, where it would face off against the loser of tonight's Utah versus Colorado match as its 7th seed first-round opponent. An ASU loss tonight plus a Baylor win would drop the Sun Devils to the 11th seed, where its first-round opponent could be Utah, Colorado, or BYU, depending on how multiple matches tonight go. I think more important to the Sun Devils than the bracketology, though, Ben, is the potential of defeating their cross-state rivals. ASU has only emerged from the Soccer Teacup victorious once since 2016, so it's safe to say this squad and this stadium is going to be energized tonight against Arizona.
Jacob, thank you very much. Kickoff is tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPNU. Now, ASU Swim and Dive has been racking up the Big 12 Conference Awards this fall. The latest belongs to Paris Olympian Tolu Young, who earned men's newcomer recognition for the week of October 16th. WCSN swimming reporter Madison Holder tells us more about the freshman from Fiji.
This past week, freshman ASU swimmer Tolu Young was named Big 12 Newcomer of the Week, earning his first Big 12 honor and becoming the 3rd Sun Devil from the men's team this season, following sophomore Ilya Karun and junior Tommy Palmer to earn a conference award. Young was awarded the title after a standout performance in just the 2nd meet of his swimming career at ASU. In the first ever All-Arizona D1 quad meet, Young swam 3 races, placing in the top 3 in all of them. He began with a 2nd place finish in the 50-yard freestyle event, finishing right behind Palmer with a time of 19.89 seconds, and joining Palmer as the only other ASU swimmer to finish under 20 seconds. Young also showcased versatility, taking 3rd in the 50-yard butterfly and touching with a personal best of just 21.48 seconds. Typically a freestyler, the freshman's flexibility in the water is a clear factor in his success. To finish the meet, Young was part of the winning 200-yard freestyle relay alongside Palmer, junior Johnny Kulau, and senior Patrick Samet. While Young is a newcomer at Arizona State, he is not foreign to the swimming world. Prior to arriving at Mona Plummer this year, he became a state champion in his home state of Washington, set a state record of 19.73 seconds in the 50-yard freestyle, and competed for his home country of Fiji in the 2024 Paris Olympics. With several individual accomplishments earned so early into the season, it's clear that ASU's triumphs from last season have carried over into the Big 12 so far, and the Sun Devils aim to continue their success as they further their season within the new conference. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Madison Holder.
Wrapping up our show, checking in with men's and women's golf. And did you know that Arizona State is one of only 2 schools in the country that has both its men's and women's golf program ranked in the top 10 of the first scoreboard powered by Clipped rankings this season? The men wrapped up their fall with a runner-up finish at the Williams Cup that saw sophomore Connor Williams grab his first career top 5 finish, while the women still have the Nania tournament ahead of them in Hawaii. Patience Rhodes is the name to know. The Beth England native has finished in the top 6 of every event she's played in this fall, but missed the Stanford Intercollegiate due to injury.
Time now for some top plays. We'll start things off on the soccer field. ASU Kansas State. It's Cam Valadares from about 25 yards out, lets it rip and finds the back of the net to give the Sun Devils a 2-0 advantage, and that is the score that game would end in. A big Big 12 win.
We saw this one a little bit earlier, so we'll take a look at it again. And this interception by Keith Abney in the game against Cincinnati got the ASU momentum rolling in the first half. Couldn't pull it off in the second.
Stay in the Queen City for our top play, and who else but Cameron Scadaboo. The running back trucks his way into the end zone. The ice-cold Selly, a stare down, and that would be Scadaboo's 8th rushing touchdown of this 2024 campaign.
Now that dude was no problem for Cam Scadaboo. Gabby, it's our final show before Halloween. You got any costume ideas?
Ben, how about ASU's newest kicker?
I like it. I like it a lot. We'll see you again from Cronkite Sports Live in 2 weeks. For Gabby Chernoff, the whole crew, Ben Paris saying so long from Studio 6.